Howdy.
Hey,
We're back. We're gonna try year two of the
try.
what do we even call this thing? I forget.
Why was it the
The
J and J podcast? J and
Something like
D
that. The DJ.
DJs. There it
uh,
is. Yeah. Your name
professional
doesn't begin with J.
professional operation we got going on here.
Super professional.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is talk about each division and kind of go through some free agents and
Yeah.
the hopefully try to remember who everyone drafted and then give sort of predictions on
Yeah.
which teams we think are going to do well in the division or make a playoff run or whatever.
Yeah.
One thing we're going to do a little bit more this year, hopefully, is keep track of what we're predicting and just see how we do. So I'm going to try to keep a spreadsheet on, what we really liked and didn't like, and I don't know, see how we do. I feel like we did pretty good overall last year, but I didn't really keep track of it. And I don't know if I'm going to review however many hours of recordings to go back and figure it out. But we'll do it going forward, hopefully, and we'll see how we do.
Yeah.
All right. A comes before N, so that's the AFC, and I guess the East is where we're starting. So let's talk about the Bills.
The Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, so
Right.
they lost a lot of talent at the skill positions. Diggs is gone.
Yes, they did.
But
But they have Mitch Trubisky. So I feel like
they did sign Trubisky.
sign Trubisky.
When Allen falls on his face, Trubisky will come in and save the day, something like that.
I mean, interceptions are good, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a completion.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, good. Then they are well on their way. Super Bowl glory awaits.
I think the thing we're going to find out is Josh Allen actually a top 2, 3, 5 quarterback because he doesn't have as many weapons as he did before, as he's ever had, I would say. I guess they did draft Keon Coleman. I think in they trade. I forget the end of the first round, start of the second round.
Yeah.
I think they traded a pick to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs took the fastest receiver in the draft. I forget his name. The guy had Worthy, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
But then they drafted Keon Coleman. Receivers. There was a lot of good receivers in the draft, but it seems like sometimes you can't always predict one's going to be the best. But
they have Chase Claypool too. It looks like, which
uh-oh. Trubisky Claypool package.
Oh goodness, that hasn't worked out for the last few teams he's been with, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So as the Bears fans well know, that was a bit of a disaster last year.
Yeah. So I mean, you're throwing so Diggs is gone and Gabe Davis is gone. I believe those were their top two. Now you got Coleman and Matt Collins and
KJ Hamler
and
Andy Isabella, Xavier Johnson, Lawrence. We just list all the wide receivers. There appears to be 20 of them on the roster at this point.
Valdez Scantling they did pick up too, but I don't even know who is we could look at depth charts. I don't know who their number 3 technically is.
Yeah. It's so early though right now. I mean, half of these guys, 3/4 of these guys might not even be on the roster in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
There's a big question. Diggs is gone. Regardless of all of this, right? Are they a better team?
I think absolutely not.
Okay.
I don't think there's any way they'd play as well as they did last year. So that's me going out on a limb a little bit. But
even without nobody's probably going to be as good as Diggs. They have replacement level, average wide receivers. That's it. Without the distraction, they
lost. So James Cook was their starter, but Zach Moss, they lost him. He was definitely not the starter last year. He took a back seat. So yeah, I don't know. I've always not been as big on Allen as most other people. I still think he's really good, but I just think they're going to be dynamic. I think they're going to be very mediocre this year. We'll see. So
it's what's interesting to me too as I look at what we're looking at. Who's their running back? What kind of running game?
So it will be. So James Cook was the starter last year, so he's still there.
Is he? Like 15 running back.
Scrolling. Yeah, James Cook.
Okay.
And then, they got Frank Gore Jr. I don't know if he must be a rookie.
Yes, he is.
I have no idea if he's like
They have two rookies
serviceable or not.
on
But
the roster. Ray Davis and Frank Gore Jr.
Darrington Evans, I think, played for the, I don't even remember. I'm going to say this wrong. Bengals or Browns.
It wasn't the Bears.
Ty Johnson, and he has been with the Bills for a while, but has been, or maybe he was with the Jets. Anyway, the bottom line is they have less talent than they had last year, and we're going to find out. I think that's the whole story with them, is we're going to find out if Josh Allen is as good as some people think, or was he a lot better because of who was around him. So I think they'll be very average. I think they could fight for a playoff spot, but I don't think they're going anywhere this year. And you're going to hear a lot of people say that you think they will still make a playoff run. They think Josh Allen is really good, but I'm not on that boat.
They're only 10-7 last year. No, 11-6. So which is pretty good. And they were down. I mean, it came down to the wire for them in terms of getting into the playoffs. They needed to win almost every game down the stretch. What do you think their record will be?
Well, before really thinking about the rest of the teams in their division, and kind of that'll help shape this a little bit. But
based on,
I don't know. Yeah. I think they'll end up maybe, I'll say 8-9.
Wow, sub 500.
And then when we get to the end of the division, I'm going to probably be like, that division's actually not very good. Someone has to win games.
Well, yeah, it's true. And I mean, if you think about the rest of the division, I was looking at the divisions earlier, and I was like, boy, all of these divisions suck.
Is there any good football players anymore?
Yeah, I just was like, okay, so just pencil the Chiefs in again, I guess. But I don't know, that this division doesn't look really great. But then I forgot that Aaron Rodgers is starting for the Jets this year, so
he's hoping to finish a half of football.
I mean, that would be such a step up from last year, and what a great goal for him. One half of football out of, what is that, 32 halves for the season?
It's a lot.
No, it's 30, 34.
And he's not, he hasn't played in so long. He's like, what, 52 years old now?
Yeah, I think he's closer to 60 than to 20.
Okay, so what's your prediction on the Bills?
Record? I think 10-7 seems pretty good for the Bills. I don't think they're gonna go sub 500. I do believe in Allen, but again, they had everything you talked about last year, and they still struggled. And we didn't even talk about their defense.
Weren't they like 5-6, and then they just ripped off, like they've only lost one game in the last 2 months? Or something like that. I
mean, I think they were out of the playoffs going into the finals week of the season, and they needed to win that game to get in. And then they ended. That's right. So they needed to win that game, and then whatever happened to Miami, they ended up winning the division. So they went from out of the playoffs to winning the division in week 18.
And it was a mess. Like the Jaguars fell off bad.
That's right. Oh, the Jaguars just shit themselves.
Yeah, Jaguars and Colts finished 9-8 and missed the playoffs.
Yes, that's right.
Steelers, the Steelers won their last, I don't know, 3 or 4 games or something.
The Steelers did it up. Yep, but they didn't make it.
7.
Yeah.
Oh, they did.
They did. The Steelers made the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
A podcast.
Well, I mean.
Oh, were they the 7th seed in the AFC?
We knew they weren't going anywhere.
No.
I think didn't Watt get hurt in like the final game of the season, like the regular season?
He was in. Yeah, he got injured, and then they never had the quarterback figured out, and now we can talk about this later, but I would venture to say that they still don't have the quarterback position figured out. That's why I was looking. I was like, God, who's good now? And it's just, I don't know.
There's been so many trades and free agent signings, trying to figure it out. It's going to take a while.
And we're still it's very early in the process. But I will say the end of last season was very exciting. Like all of those teams coming down to the wire. I know there's been some complaints about extending the season and the 17-game schedule and all of that. But it has, and then expanding, obviously, the wild card spot from but it has made the end of the season really compelling these last few weeks, just given how wide open it can be and all the different scenarios to contemplate. I mean, from that standpoint, the NFL has done a good job.
Yeah, some people really hate that they added a seventh team because those teams are like sometimes 500 or not even 500, and it's like, do they really deserve to be there? But
yeah,
it's just more games, and it's just like if you're really
love football,
if you're really good, like
yeah,
just win, right?
Just win, baby.
That's what it is. Like,
yeah,
if those seven seeds are that bad, then they're not going to make a run. I don't know. You can make arguments either way.
We'll see it at one point, right? It's going to happen. It hasn't happened, obviously, because it's so early in this process, but some seven seed is going to make a run to the Super Bowl. It will happen. I mean, there were several six seeds who, at least in this century, have made it to the Super Bowl and won, right? The Steelers did it once and the Giants did it another time. So it's totally possible.
Yeah, I don't remember if the Packers were the
when they won.
Were they what were they last year? The 6 or the 7?
Were they
no, they beat the Cowboys.
That's right. They looked good. They were in that game against the Niners. Where did they finish? I don't think they were the 7th seed. I thought they were better than that,
Well,
but
they were
it was crappier.
And the Bucks were 9.
Oh, it was the Bucks. I think no, the Bucks won their division.
Right. So I mean that maybe the Packers were the 7th seed anyway.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears a little bit. There was a game yesterday, or three quarters of a game.
Yes, they canceled it before it.
So many backup players, and they played 3 quarters, and there was lightning, and they canceled the game.
They did. 3 touchdowns by Bears quarterback. Passing touchdowns. Yes. Right? Well, maybe not for long. Maybe not for long.
Look out, Caleb.
And they're on Hard Knocks too, so look out for that. We get to see all the insider details starting tomorrow. That would be fascinating. Can't wait to see what Eberflus has to say about anything.
What if well, we gave Eberflus a lot of flack last year on here. What if the Bears, I mean, this isn't going to happen, but what if the Bears are 13-4 and they make the NFC Championship game, and we have to be like, dude, Eberflus is a genius?
There's no way. He's not a genius. They were 7-9. I couldn't believe it. Like, just going back and reflecting, it's like that team was 7-9. There's a lot of hype around the Bears. Their schedule. A lot of people are praising their easiness of their early schedule. The back half looks like they're not even playing a division game till after, I think, week 12. And the division's supposed to be good. Are we jumping into the Bears? Or we want to stay in the
No, I was just doing a quick aside, but I mean, that's the reason why he kept his job, though. Like, the defense played lights out.
The defense played really well.
And like, if I was a Bears fan, I would have hoped that they fell off more because I would have wanted a new coach, but I'm not a Bears fan, so who cares what I say?
Same old story. A defense that's pretty okay, and then just nothing else. Anyway,
all right, Bills, I'm saying 8-9. He's saying 10-7. On to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
The Dolphins,
big contract,
have a ton of talent. If you remember last year, we said, like, they beat every bad team, and they pretty much lost to every good team. I think they beat the Cowboys at home barely in like week 15 or something like that, but they weren't really beating teams with winning records. So they have most of their guys back. They signed Odell Beckham Jr., Mostert, Ashan, Tyreek. I mean, they got all the world. I haven't really paid attention to what they did on defense for like free agents or draft. Obviously, that plays a big part, but the key obviously is going to be, can they take the next step and beat those above 500 teams? It just seems like the teams that were a little bit better kind of figured them out and didn't get beat up by their firepower. But yeah, I mean, that's the key. And then obviously it's always, can Tua stay healthy? So
it's so they were there was another team. They were leading the division in the last game of the season. And then they went from leading the division, the AFC East, to being the 6th seed. And then getting bounced by Kansas City and not even looking all that good and being bounced out of the playoffs.
They got swept by the Bills the last month of the season, right?
Yes, I think that's right. Yes.
Ended up giving the Bills the division.
Because did they play them in the last game of the season? I think that's what happened. Let's see. Yes. So they played the Bills the last game of the season, which they lost 21-7 or 21-14. Uh, and they lost to the Bills much earlier in the season in October.
Okay.
And that was one of the comeback games for the Bills because they had started pretty crappily, and then they came out and they just mollywopped the Dolphins 48-20. That was when like all those teams were getting just stomped.
Yeah, and then Mother Nature kind of took care of the Dolphins in that playoff game when it was like negative 142 degrees in Kansas City.
Kansas
yeah.
was on the same field though, right? Kansas City, they played the same.
Yeah.
They weren't on a different field playing a different.
No, they did. They played two simulated games. One,
Okay.
yeah, the Dolphins had to play in negative 20, and she played in somewhere Bermuda, and it was 82.
Yeah. Okay. That explains it then.
And the Chiefs were cramping up.
Yeah.
No. Okay, that got a little wild.
It's it. Nobody buys into this team. Nobody thinks this team is real, right? Like, and everybody loves the coach. They love him as an offensive genius guru guy. But the garbage can of the NFL is littered with these amazing genius offensive guru guys. I mean, let's remember Adam Gase, shall we?
Yeah, and even like Shanahan, people kind of say he doesn't manage the game like that. I feel like McDaniel.
Yes, there's a McDaniels.
Similar to like when the game's close, I don't know. Like, is he making the right decisions in these close games? I don't know. Like, is he calling the right play? It just seems like that's kind of the whole. What's that?
I mean, Shanahan's made 2 Super. I get the knock against Shanahan because he shit his pants in maybe 3 Super Bowls, but like he's made 3 Super Bowls, 2 of them as a head coach, one of which he had Jimmy Garoppolo as his quarterback. Like the guy is a good coach. I don't know what you're gonna say. Like Marv Levy never won a Super Bowl either, but he was in there 4 times. So he's an amazing coach. I think at this point you can take that label off Shanahan. If San Francisco fired him today, there'd be half a dozen teams lined up to, not the Bears, of course, but like any other team in the NFL.
Yeah, for sure. There was the whole like overtime rule change thing that he seemed like maybe he didn't know what was going on, but then he kind of played it off like he did what he did on purpose. But whatever. Yeah, I mean, I still think he's a really good coach. He just needs to win the big one.
He does. McDaniels does none of that. None of that clout. Just all flash. No.
Yeah. So was last year his first year as a head coach?
No, I think it was his second.
Okay.
I think it was the second, and I don't remember what they did the previous. I mean, they were good, and they revitalized Tua. I mean, he signed a huge contract, which I think in hindsight will be a mistake.
Yeah, they obviously have all the talent.
Yeah,
I'm just so this is the part where I realize I'm gonna predict all these teams to be not so great, and then I realize, oh wait, the Patriots are in this division. Like someone's gonna have to win division games.
They're gonna be bad,
but I think maybe the Jets are just really good, and the Bills and Dolphins are middling, and then the Patriots are pretty terrible, and it just kind of shakes out that way. That's kind of what I'm going with.
I love that. I think
you can't agree with me though.
No, I think I can. I feel like I could.
Then we're both wrong.
Well, it might be. Well, the caveat is does Rodgers stay healthy, and is Rodgers even a fraction of what he once was? And that I feel like if that's the case, then I think I like the Jets here. You just think about the NFL landscape, like from season to season. There's always a team that comes out of nowhere. There's always a huge reversal of fortune for a team that was not good to become good. And I just feel like the Bills and the Dolphins are stale. I think the Patriots are hot garbage for a number of different reasons. And it feels right. That feels like a good pick. Rodgers stays healthy. I take the Jets here and to win this division.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Dolphins 9-8.
9-8, huh? Do we have a look at their schedule?
Ooh, what's gonna cost you?
Okay. All right. Then without the schedule, because you didn't look at the schedule either. I will go 10-7. I think I went 10-7 for the Bills too, but they had the same record last year, so 11-6, 11-6. I will go 10-7 for both, and then that means this division shaping up to be pretty good because I just like the Jets.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's a good point. Like when you're trying to predict how many games teams are going to win, maybe you should look at who they're playing since the team with the easiest schedule versus the team with the toughest schedule, there's a huge difference. But it was only so, I mean,
and you don't know how good these teams actually are at this point. It's all
true.
It's all just speculation. But
there's always like regression teams, like a few, and there's always teams that weren't supposed to be very good that kind of make the playoffs. Like the Buccaneers last year, or like the Packers after 5 weeks looked horrible, and then all of a sudden Jordan Love had Dan Marino because they got. We'll get to my Vikings probably next week, but let's stay in the AFC.
Or maybe 3 weeks from now, the pace we're going.
We've gotten through 2 teams. That's pretty good.
Yeah, there's only 31.
Well, this one we can probably
just their starting quarterback is Drew. Okay, here's maybe the biggest question: is how long does it take Bailey Zappi to become the starter this season, like the permanent starter?
So we're talking about the Patriots.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, the New England Patriots. Yeah, we are talking Bailey Zappi. I feel like they're synonymous at this point.
So, I think Brissett. Well, Brissett is the number 1 right now. I don't know that he's necessarily won the job yet. There has never been a preseason game played, but so they drafted Drake May in the first round. He's not where he needs to be yet, which is not that big of a deal because he's a rookie, right? But Brissett is the number 1 so far. They also have Zappi. And then obviously Drake May. They like Ramondre Stevenson just signed a contract. He's a good running for sure. Kendrick Bourne had a little bit of a breakout year last year at receiver, but like I don't even know who KJ Osborne was a number 3 for Minnesota. Like I guess he's their second or third option. Juju Smith-Schuster, he's got to be getting old, but he's been serviceable. Like, I don't know. Gerard Mayo is a defensive-minded guy, right? Like, is their defense just going to be? Their defense was actually good last year.
It was. That's one of the things that was mystifying about their record is at least 50% of what they were trying, 45% of what they were trying to do. 40% was good. I mean, it was just this team has just been mismanaged for years, and I think that's maybe we don't know what kind of coach Gerard Mayo is, but I don't think the roster construction is where it needs to be to just transition into something successful. Now maybe he's a great coach and he pulls something from this current composition, but I don't think so. I think this is probably the worst team in the division.
Yeah, I would agree. I think some people are gonna take them to win 3 or 4 games only. I think they'll win more than that. Like they'll be somewhat decent. I'm gonna go like 6-11. I'll say for the Patriots, which that's probably pretty high for people who are predicting such things.
It is, and I mean, what that killed them last year was the quarterback. Maybe more than anything else, they didn't have, and that's true of any team, right? If you don't have the quarterback figured out, you're going to be absolutely terrible. And the problem, one of the biggest problems is they never settled on one guy. They kept going, well, let's just try this crap. Oh no, we'll try that crap instead of trying to be consistent with one piece of crap. And that's the dumbest thing because then how do you build anything? You just keep mushing the crap around. So maybe Mayo can do what Belichick couldn't and just stick with one thing. Or if he decides to pivot, then just stick with one thing, and just drive some stability. But I think we're on 4 games last year. I feel like 4 games this year is right on 4-13.
Maybe they are 1-16, and people want Belichick back, and then he can get his all-time wins record or whatever it is. I don't know. I don't have much else to say about the Patriots. I think they're going to be a little bit better than complete garbage, but not compete for anything meaningful.
Not the worst team in the league. I agree with that. Not the worst team in the league. They're not getting the number 1 draft pick next year. I don't believe, unless they have to trade for it or whatever. Not by the product of what's on the field.
All right, now we're cooking. We got through the Patriots in like
we're almost 1 division down. Boom, boom. Jets. They have a fight song. Here come the Jets. We're not that bad. We wear kind of a green color, and it looks weird on TV sometimes.
Kelly Green, maybe they call it.
Okay, they're Kelly Green, and the Eagles are the Midnight Green, just a way cooler.
Okay.
All right. I like Brees Hall.
Yeah, Brees Hall's really good.
Yes.
Obviously, like if Rodgers stays healthy, you gotta think that they're gonna be decent
Yes.
with him. Although who knows, he's like what 42 or something.
They have nobody else at court. I mean, I guess you could argue that they didn't. I guess Tyrod Taylor's here. But, I mean, they had. You could argue they didn't have anybody else in the roster last year too. Is Zach Wilson even in the NFL this year?
Yeah, he is on the Broncos. So I was just looking it up.
Oh goodness.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there. Like Sean Payton believes in Zach Wilson more than Russell Wilson. It's like the Wilson. I don't know. Maybe he's trying to play some mind games. Yeah.
The bigger question there is, do we still believe in Sean Payton? It's a question for another time.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. So Garrett Wilson was a stud last year with whoever the Jets chose to try to throw him footballs.
Mm-hmm.
They signed Mike Williams from the Chargers, who's been kind of a number 2-3 guy, very streaky, but has all the talent in the world. And then Lazard, Rodgers has been throwing to Lazard for a while back in Green Bay.
Mm.
He was on Green Bay. And then who else did I see? So, I mean, they have plenty of weapons. Brees Hall is a stud. Their defense was really good. Sala is still there, right?
Yeah.
He's a defensive guy. So, like, I don't know how you can say, oh, no, the Jets are going to be terrible this year. Like,
their defense was good last year.
Everything they need.
They won some sneaky games too. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Nate Hackett, though, still on staff, right?
He's the offensive coordinator who doesn't run
offensive coordinator.
Because Rodgers just does whatever he wants.
Coordinator.
I think that's another thing. It's like, dude, like you can come up with some stuff, but if there's ever a decision, I'm just gonna call the play. I think that's.
I mean, it feels like it's a Peyton Manning situation where it's just sort of like, and I'm assuming that's how Tom Brady was as well. It's like I don't think anybody was feeding plays to Brady. Certainly, he wasn't doing something he didn't want to do or didn't agree with.
Right.
So yes, he's certainly at that level. I think if Rodgers is where he needs to be, because this isn't speculation, right? We know that he's a transcendent quarterback. If he's at or near that, then this is probably the best team in the division.
For sure.
That would have been true last year too.
Man, is he like even if like the Achilles is one thing, but even just trying to get through a year as a able-bodied quarterback who's like 28 is difficult to do. So obviously, assuming Rodgers stays healthy, I'm gonna go. What am I gonna go? 12-5.
Yeah, so I wanted to say 12-5, but I'm thinking, like you said, health. I'll go 11-6 because I think like any game he's not in, they're probably losing, which wasn't true last year, right? Because he was out and they won 7 games, something like that. I mean, they were sniffing around the playoffs. They weren't. I mean, that division was so topsy turvy.
7-10. I think at one point they were like 5-5 or 6-6.
Yeah. And
then Rodgers was like, I'm gonna come back.
Yeah, there were rumors that he would be back by December or whatever, and then it was like, no, not with that injury. So yeah, I mean, I just with injuries and all that, I'll say 11-6, but I think winning the division.
All right, we're done with the AFC East.
Boom.
And I don't know that I don't know. I guess I'm gonna say we didn't really go out on a limb, but there's going to be plenty of people who are going to say, "Oh yeah, the Dolphins will win the division or the Bills will win the division." They're not those guys, but I mean, I guess
most people. You don't think the Bills will make the playoffs? I think that's a pretty big limp.
Yeah, they haven't. Have they missed the playoffs since Allen?
No,
played quarterback.
Well, I don't know about his rookie year, but since he's ascended, no. They just get kicked in the teeth by the Chiefs every or no, there was the one year where they got kicked in the teeth by the Bengals. But
yeah, the Bengals went up to Buffalo and it was kind of a cold game, snowy game, I think, and they just destroyed them. Yeah.
Well, that Burrow guy's okay.
Yeah, and he's going to be healthy. We're going to probably have to talk about him next week, but
his wrist is still effed up. I don't think he's healthy. I heard on the radio the other day, like he can't like lift weights or anything.
Are you being serious?
Yeah, Joe Burrow.
Oh,
yeah,
I haven't heard.
Yeah, his wrist is still jacked up. I heard.
That's weird. What's he doing?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think that's what they're saying. Yeah, he's not.
It was actually
not play the preseason. I think I heard.
It was a didn't he dislocate his finger or break his finger?
He did something strange,
or like a ligament in his thumb or something.
It was. Yeah, it's I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
Keep an eye on that, everybody. Okay. Right, we got one division down. We're gonna jump into the AFC West. Here's them Broncos we were talking about. Gonna be so good. So they brought in Zach Wilson, got rid of Russell Wilson. Obviously, Peyton and Wilson probably weren't going out for drinks together. I don't think they were the best of friends. So Peyton basically benched him and said, no more. So now the Bo Nix era starts. Bo Nix, running back, Javonte Williams and Estime. Is that how you say it? The Notre Dame guy should be very decent backfield. And then at receiver, I don't really know. I don't know what their depth chart looks like. You've got Mims, Josh Reynolds, who was pretty good for the Rams as like a number 3, and then he went to the Lions. Definitely serviceable. Cortland Sutton obviously is their number 1, and then they got rid of Jerry Jeudy, who was kind of like a bad locker room guy. Didn't seem like he was realizing his potential.
Bought in and whatever.
All right, so there's not. I don't know that there's enough. I think Sean Payton is still a great offensive mind, one of the best. I just don't know if they have enough Jims and Joes to get it done.
Well, that would be the question though. He's the one who's deciding on the Jims and Joes. He's at that level where, and his big Jim Joe / Joe is Bo Nix. And most everybody said,
Jim Joe Bo?
Yeah. They're like, why did they do that when they did that? Because maybe they didn't have to do that and could have done that much later in the draft. So, man, this like every team, this team is going to go where the quarterback goes, and I'm not sure they have one.
Yeah, so the big thing with the draft was the Broncos were pretending like they were going to trade up to take McCarthy, but they never were. They were always going to take Nix, and they just wanted the Vikings to make a bad trade up. I'm just like,
because why would they care? So I mean, yes, they would care about the Vikings. The Vikings did. Not even in the same conference.
I don't know. It's hard to figure out what's true and what's not, but that's what was said. At any rate, the old Broncos. So they got the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Raiders in their division.
Raiders.
The Chargers are not going to be as bad as they were last year.
No,
they got a lot of. Well, they got Harbaugh. Whatever. We'll get to them. We'll get to them later, but I don't know. The Broncos' talent level and division, I think we're looking at. Does Bo Nix, is he starting for sure? I would assume.
No, I mean at this point, I mean maybe.
I'm gonna go 6-11.
So that's why I want to give them 6 wins as well. That may be generous. I mean, it's like there's a real possibility that it's like they're trotting out Zach Wilson at some point in the season.
Yeah, the only thing,
or Stidham, I don't know. There's
the if you're a Broncos fan, the positive thing probably that it's Peyton's second year, so he's kind of gotten rid of some of the guys that he didn't really see eye to eye with, and maybe he's got more of the guys that he wants on the roster at this point. And he's obviously shown that he can be a really good coach, but I don't know. I just don't know that they have enough talent to really get it done.
Yeah, and I just feel like maybe is he going to be more Andy Reid or is he going to be more Mike McCarthy? And I feel like he's trending towards Mike McCarthy at this point.
I kind of hope so. He's messing with my Vikings on these trade, pretending to trade up for McCarthy business, whatnot, and I don't know. So
6 wins feels right.
All right, we're going 6-11. When they're 12-5, you can.
There's just no way.
stop tuning into the old
Where are they trading
podcast.
Pat Mahomes? Does they somehow finagle that in the middle of the season?
Yeah, Carson Wentz won the job in Kansas City, so
Yeah.
Mahomes is out.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that's the only way this team's going 12 and whatever.
Okay, there you have it. We're really moving along now. We got the Chiefs. Okay. Chiefs, very good last year. Chiefs get more good player.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I'm just gonna make it short and sweet. Like I think they kept pretty much all of their good skill players on offense and defense. I'm gonna go 13-4.
I mean, I don't even know. Does it even matter? Like they're going to make the playoffs. They'll be good enough to make the playoffs at 10-7, 11-6, at 9-8. The odds that they could be in and or win the Super Bowl are still super, super high. It doesn't seem to matter. I just, when you have the best player in football, you just more than likely is not probably you're gonna do well. I mean, and not just the best player in football now, maybe like the second best player in the history of football. I mean, he's already entered that conversation in his. I guess he's been in the league 8 years. That's not nothing. But has a team ever won three-peated? And no team NFL team has ever three-peated.
No. Wasn't that? I think the Patriots won 3 in 4 years.
They did win
and the one they lost was at the undefeated season where they lost to the Giants. And I could be wrong on that.
No, they won 3 and 4. That was the first set of 3, and then they won, and then they did not make the Super Bowl the following year because the Raiders lost to the Bucs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that was the season where Gruden had been the head coach of the Raiders, and then in the offseason, Tampa Bay traded for Gruden, and Gruden became the head coach of the Bucs, and then Bill Callahan became the head coach of the Raiders, and then they met in the Super Bowl, and then the Bucs just kicked the shit out of them in the Super Bowl. And that was Gruden's Super Bowl.
I do remember that. I just don't remember it being like amidst the Patriots dynasty.
Yes, that was and then it was Patriots went back to back. But that was beat the Panthers and then the Eagles, I think, or vice versa.
All right. So if you're really low on the Chiefs, you're probably crazy. So what did I say? 13-4. What do you think?
I mean, they somehow managed to not look very good at times during the regular season. I think I'm going to go 11-6 again. Right. Probably good to lose 6 games, but probably still going to win the Super Bowl, or at least be in it.
I mean, the thing is, like their opponents obviously are always going to be checked up as much as possible against them because they are who they are. So, you get everyone's best game. 13-4, I mean, it's pretty tough. If you just think about like, there's weeks where teams are just banged up and like playing on short weeks and all that. So maybe I went a little too high, but that's what I'm going with. Maybe they'll have a little Super Bowl hangover and come out of the gates a little bit slow.
Yeah, maybe.
All right.
The Raiders.
They just gave Gardner Minshew like money. Let's see. How much dollars did they give him? $15 million. Where's it at?
Is he supposed to be their starting? Is that the intent? They signed him to start? I like Gardner Minshew, but
yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, look at
they
look
signed
at their so they signed Minshew. Aiden O'Connell
was there last year.
There's no way he's starting unless Minshew is bad. Yeah. And I don't know those other 2 names. So Minshew, 2-year, $25 million, includes $15 million fully guaranteed. All right. Who else do they have?
I don't know.
Alexander Madison from the Vikings.
Alexander Madison. Oh, sorry.
Madison and Zamir White, I guess, are probably their top 2 backs. Devontae Adams, you know what you're getting with him, although he's getting old too.
Yes.
I just heard recently that like he said if Garoppolo plays anymore that he wants to be traded or something like that. So
not even on the roster.
No, right, last year.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
He was, like Garoppolo was playing okay, and then all of a sudden he just wasn't playing, and
Yeah.
obviously that was the reason why. But they had McDaniels, whatever his, I don't even remember his first name, but they were an absolute
Josh
mess.
McDaniels. Yeah. He was a shitbag. Nobody liked him.
Yeah. Wonder if someone picked him up for their coaching staff. If he's like,
I don't think so. I mean, he went when he shat his way out of the Broncos organization. He went right back to the Patriots. Now, granted, they then subsequently won 3 more Super Bowls, but probably not because of him.
So Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and who's there? Jalen Guyton, maybe. I think he used to be on the Chargers. I don't know. Like Myers had a good year last year. Obviously, Devontae Adams is a stud. So yeah, they're okay at the skill positions, I would say. Um, I don't know. Like, are you looking at like? We're not really talking much about defense because I just don't know that as well. But
it doesn't matter as much anymore. I feel like.
Yeah, like if this team's defense isn't like super good, I don't know. Like, is anyone looking at this team and saying, "Yep, we can win 11 games and we're gonna make the playoff"?
It's
I don't know.
like the division-winning team.
No, but obviously they saw something in Minshew. They thought that was the way to go versus
heck of a season. Like had they won that, that's another team. Had they won that last game, they would have been in the playoffs. So I mean, and that was an amazing turnaround for a group. He wasn't supposed to be starting that year. He was there to be the backup, and then Richardson got hurt. This team just feels like a middle of the road. I think they were 7-9. They were somewhere around 7-10 or 8-9 last year.
I think they finished 9-8. Yeah, 9-8. Just missed the playoffs.
It feels exactly right. Like they didn't have a quarterback. They don't feel they have a quarterback this year. The roster, I don't think there was that much turnover. 8-9 sounds right. I think that's where they're going to be. Plus or minus a game.
I'm gonna go 7-10.
Okay.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yep.
About 6, and I'm not like super passionate about that prediction. But
if this is a team that is like one of the sleeper, like one of the surprise teams of the season, I would be. I don't know if there's a word better than surprised. If there is, I don't know it, but that's what I would be.
All right, we're done with them Raiders.
Raiders.
And I think for today we'll do the Chargers, and then we'll save the. I don't know. Do we have enough weeks left to do the rest of the stuff? Yeah,
there's 4 more weeks because the Hall of Fame game is a week out from the official start of the preseason. So,
all right, let's do the Chargers. So, obviously, their off season has been more, let's say, drama filled, but like they've had a lot of additions and subtractions. The biggest one is Harbaugh. He gets the chance to coach Herbert, and he's outspoken about that. Like, obviously, like he's very excited. Yep. It'll be interesting to see what Harbaugh and Herbert can do together.
Harbaugh and Herbert, H&H.
Yeah. And then
chain of British supermarkets.
Yeah, it's going to be something after this.
Yeah.
So they got Dobbins and Edwards, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards from the Ravens. Dobbins came out and said, if I could just stay healthy for 1 year, like I'm one of the best backs in the league. But then in the same article, it's like he hasn't had more than some ridiculously low amount of like games played in a row or something like that. So like, yeah, you're basically always hurt. So here's what it is. Dobbins, Edwards, and then their receivers. Obviously, they got rid of Keenan Allen, who's kind of getting up there in age. They have DJ Shark from the Jaguars, I believe. Or no, was he on the Lions or something last year? Anyway, so Shark will be a top 3 receiver for them. I'm guessing. What else? Quentin Johnston was kind of like they drafted him high, and then he was not as good as he was supposed to be. So it'll be this is kind of the year where like they figure out if he's a legit first round receiver, like realizing the potential or not. And then I don't know, like Josh Palmer, is he like your number 3? I think receiver is a little bit of a question mark for them, but Herbert, Harbaugh, they can probably make not so great receivers look a little bit better. And then I think there was some talk about Bosa wanting to go somewhere else, but I think he actually took less money to stay with the Chargers. He probably likes
Harbaugh.
what they had going on in the off season. I I'm high on the Chargers. I mean, what Harbaugh did in a brief stint with the Niners, I don't know, it's probably been 10 years ago at this point or more. I thought was
Yeah.
impressive. And like, I just don't think many coaches are going to outcoach him week to week. And I think Herbert's easily a top five quarterback in
Yeah.
the league. So I'm going to go. Oh, what am I going to go? Let's do 10-7.
Is Herbert better than Allen?
I think so.
Like
Like,
marginally or considerably?
I'm, I don't know, marginally, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't think you. I just don't think you can argue against Harbaugh. Like whatever you want to say about him, and I think there's a lot of things you could say about him that aren't maybe totally flattering or positive. I feel like the results he puts on the field are um, legitimate. So yeah, I mean, I also just looking at the AFC at a sort of a high level and figuring out well which divisions are going to produce more than one playoff team, and I struggle to think about which of these teams is really going to which of these divisions are going to produce more than one. So I like the Chargers here. I don't think I like them to win the division. But what'd you say? Did you say 10-7?
Yeah.
And they only won. I think they only won 6 games last year. All right, I'll go one better. I'll say 11-6.
They won 5 games last
They
year.
won 5. Wow, they were really bad.
Yeah.
Wow,
Staley was horrible.
Should have fired that guy a long time ago. Oh boy. Okay. But then they probably would end up with our. Yeah, I mean, I like 11-6. I would go better than I one better than that. 11-6, and you know what? Could they? I think I like both Kansas City at 11-6 too. I don't think they'll win the division, but I like 11-6 for them.
All right.
6 game swing.
So we've gone through 2 divisions. We'll
Yeah.
save the rest for another day. I think
Yes.
a little under an hour per episode is just about right.
Yeah, very consumable.
Considering most
You're
of these
welcome.
turn it off after 30 seconds. No, I'm just kidding. Let's just recap because we gave our predictions, but
Yeah.
let's go like what we actually feel kind of strongly about, and then we'll use those as like our I don't know, our 3-star picks or whatever you want to call it. So I am one like more confident that the Bills are going to struggle this year than any of my other predictions, maybe, or most of my other ones today. So Bills 8-9 or Bills missing the playoffs. I like that. Dolphins, I said 9-8. I think not as confident in that. More just because I had to pick it. Patriots, I'm not going to get crazy on that. The Jets, I really do think are going to have a really good year. And then, if they make the playoffs, look out. Like, they're not going to be afraid of the Chiefs or anything like that. Like, if Rodgers is playing the way he can. I do really think the Broncos are going to struggle.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people thought Russell Wilson was just like completely washed up, and I think it was more of like a battle between coach and player, and things just got really dysfunctional there last year. So
I mean, there was a point in the middle of the season where he looked amazing. And they were turning it around, and of course they fell apart again.
Right. So I do feel strongly about the Broncos not being good, the Bills missing the playoffs, and the Chargers. I really think the Chargers are going to make they're going to make the playoffs, and they could make a run as well. So those are my 3 that I kind of like out of the mix today.
Yeah. I definitely think the Patriots are going to suck. I do like the Jets. I think both Miami and the Bills feel like very similar teams record-wise, at or near the middle, so hovering around 10-7. It wouldn't surprise me if either missed the playoffs at that price point. But at the same time, at 10-7, I look at the rest of I don't feel like I see a lot of super winners, but I like the Jets to come out of this division. And then the AFC, I think I like the Chiefs to win, and I think the Chargers are much improved and will make the playoffs in the first season under Harbaugh.
All right. So you got a Bears fan and a Vikings fan. We didn't get into the NFC North yet.
Nope.
That'll be probably a few weeks. But we got through two divisions.
Yeah.
There you have it. We got what? Labor Day. Is it Labor Day weekend or the week after Labor Day? So we got like 5 weeks or something like that until real football begins.
Real football.
None of this thunderstorm cancellation, third string nonsense,
namby-pamby stuff.
Ugh. I didn't even watch it.
Get struck by lightning. I did. I tried to watch it. I watched.
Well, you're a Bears fan.
I was a Bears fan, but I didn't watch for very long.
Yeah,
I didn't watch for very long.
All right, that's it for today. Go Vikings!
Go Bears.